Hi guys, thanks for coming back to Rad's retreat. I do appreciate your visits. Right, let's get into the tools, the reviews. Basically I'm going to start off with probably the most used tool in your workshop, or certainly your most used wood turning tool, bowl gougers. That's what everybody seems to think of, you know, when you say wood turning, people think, ooh, he makes bowls. So we'll start off with bowl gougers. What I've actually got in my hand is a Hamlet, if you can see that. Hamlet Craft Tools, made in Sheffield, England. Good quality tool. Now then, I don't know if you know this or not. Henry Taylor. Brilliant tools, fantastic tools. I'm a big fan of theirs, but they're expensive. Hamlet tools are made in the same factory by Henry Taylor. Okay, it's just another name for Henry Taylor, but they're cheaper, substantially cheaper. All right, you'll not get every gouge and every tool that Henry Taylor made by Hamlet, but you know, most of them, certainly your bowl gougers, your spindle gougers, spindle roughing gougers, Hamlet make them all, and basically what you're getting is a Henry Taylor tool. So, you know, if you can't quite afford a Henry Taylor gouge, buy a Hamlet. I actually live roughly about 11 or 12 miles away from where these are made. Henry Taylor Tools has been making tools in Sheffield, England for going on for 200 years. So by now they know what they're doing. So excellent quality. This is just a standard bowl gouge grind. I have polished the flute up, but other than that, it's just a standard gouge. Very good quality. I'm a big fan of Henry Taylor and Robert Sorby. Big fan of both of them. They're both in Sheffield, England. Robert Sorby's been making tools hundreds of years. Not just 200 years, but probably 400 years. In fact, to give you a little bit of history, Robert Sorsby was the first master cutler in Sheffield, and that goes back probably 400 years. So Robert Sorsby, you know, his name evolved into Robert Sorby. So that gives you a little bit of a history lesson there. So by now they know what they're doing. Excellent quality tools. As I said, this is standard grind, sorry. Well made gouge. This is ½ inch. I use this for doing the turn at, you know, bottom of bowls, with it having a fairly short bevel. With it having a short bevel, it's able to get round those corners a little bit better than you know, a fingernail gouge would. That's really the only thing I use it for. But it's a good quality one. As I say, if you can't afford Henry Taylor gouge, Hamlet's just as good, but it's cheaper. Right, we'll move on. And no, you're not going to get to see my face. I'm quite a shy person, so you're not going to get to see it. I don't mind talking, but I'm quite a shy person. I'm not rude. If somebody talks to me, I'll talk back to them, but I'm not a guy that goes out of his way to talk to people, although you wouldn't necessarily assume that, would you? I'm talking to what could potentially be thousands or millions of people right now, I hope. I should wish, but I'm not a very, I'm quite a shy guy. I try to keep myself to myself, so you might see my face in future videos, but it might be quite a few months until I work up the courage. Right, here we've got a gouge which I was really looking forward to getting. It's made from the new powdered metal. Basically they get powdered metal in a powdered form, they put it into a die, and they press, you know, using hundreds of tons of pressure, and the metal gets compressed and sinters itself together, and then they can then work it, you know, mill it and whatnot. Now, in the wood turning mags, they gave this particular gouge a really good write-up, so I thought, yes, I'll get one of them, because in my shack I don't have a great deal of space, as you can probably see, and I haven't got the space to have a grinder out all the time. So if a gouge can last longer between you know, visits to the grinder, that's even better for me. So I got this thing, and it wasn't cheap. It was, you know, above £60, 60 UK pound. So that's probably going to be going on $90. And in the wood turning mags, they were talking about it lasting 3 to 5 times longer between sharpenings. Well, I can tell you straight away, that's rubbish. That is utter tripe, what they're telling you. This thing, does it last longer than a normal gouge made out of M2 steel? You know, with a decent, you know, properly annealed and whatnot. Yes, it does. Does it last substantially longer? No, it doesn't. I would say that this gouge at tops, at the absolute tops, lasts around 20-25% longer. That's at the absolute maximum. That's what that's my figures anyway. I've been using it now for well over 12 months, probably 18 months, and those are the figures that I'm getting. It barely lasts any longer than a standard Robert Sorby or a standard Henry Taylor gouge, but yet it costs substantially more. So the only good thing it's got going for it is the handle. The handle is probably the most comfiest handle I've ever felt on a gouge. It's that good. I wrote the dimensions down, and I made I copy it now. Well, I don't copy it, I make my interpretation of it. But it's a fantastic handle, but it's a lot of money to pay for a comfortable handle. The gouge itself is no better. I certainly wouldn't recommend you going out of your way to buy one. I wouldn't. There are better gouges on the market that last substantially longer than it. Speaking of which, there's these. Now these are the Robert Sorby Gold ones, the Sovereign ones. These things, when I was looking at them at first, I thought it's going to be a bit of a gimmick, you know. They're just colouring them gold to look better, so that people will buy them. But they do actually last longer between grindings, between sharpenings. It's titanium nitride, plasma coating. Every time you sharpen that gouge, you're getting a fresh edge of titanium nitride on it. It doesn't, you know, it's just a coating. It doesn't have to go throughout the metal. I mean, the metal's not rubbish metal to start with. It's M2 steel, hardened and annealed by Robert Sorby, and you know, they're second to none. But the actual coating is just a surface coating. But every time you sharpen it, you're getting a fresh edge of titanium nitride. Now, titanium nitride, I do believe is up there, very, very close to tungsten carbide. On you know, on the scales, it's a very hard wearing substance. And I found that to be very true. They last substantially longer than a standard Robert Sorby gouge. I would say do they last twice as long? No. I would say they last 50% to 75% longer, which is a substantial benefit. It is to me anyway. Now, they do cost more. They don't cost 50 to 75% more though, so you're grinding it less times because it's lasting longer, so you're saving on in the long run. But they are an excellent gouge, brilliant. As I say, I thought it was just going to be a gimmick, but no, they do actually last longer. They're an excellent gouge. Really, really highly recommend them, guys. It's not just a gimmick. As you can see, you've just been looking at the black gouge made by Crown. Well, there's my interpretation of that handle. Beautiful, comfortable handle. This one's hickory. Lovely, it's made a beautiful handle. A nice brass ferrule on it, and a nice golden. I mean, you've got to admit that looks a trick gouge. It does. It looks really impressive. But they do last longer between sharpenings. I honestly, you know, I can honestly, hand on heart, assure you of that. They do last longer. They certainly last longer than the Crown powdered metal one anyway. So, right guys, I'll end this video here. And the next video we'll carry on with ball gouges. There's a couple more I want to show you. So I hope you'll join me for that, guys. Catch you in a bit, guys. Take care.